What's up, people? It's your boy MM2K of Hard Knock Digital Culture, Cloud Dosage, MM2K Gaming, back again with a special edition of NRO Talk Watch. This is what is typically our members programming, but once a month we've been running this thing where we'll put like a live or a public episode out there so you guys know what you get Monday through Friday if you become a member. So if you are interested in this type of content, and we got a very special show for you today, what you're going to want to do is hit that join button, become a member at the Foamy Homie level. That's the $3.99 level, and you'll get access to this content, which we regularly do Monday through Friday. We do a show like this Monday through Thursday, and then Friday, what ends up happening is we have like a special video upload that you guys get early access to on Fridays. That's because we got a plan for our weekly podcast, which is the NRO podcast. So if you're not familiar with the channel, you'll definitely want to check that out on Fridays. And then we have a special video that's always aligned with that we release to the public over the weekend. But if you're a member, you'll get special access to it. Also, let's just say if YouTube joining isn't your thing, right? And you'd rather just participate via Patreon or something like that, that's fine too. We have a Patreon. It's under PNTS Network. Let me see if I can find it for you guys right now. Insights. Let's see here. I think this is the right thing. No, this is okay. So what we're going to want to do is go to ntsnetwork.com/ or Patreon / pntsnetwork.com. How do I switch this? It's not gonna let me do it. Okay, all right. But I'll post a link in the chat. Let's do patreon.com / PNTS Network. Okay. So you'll definitely want to check that out. I actually have that in the chat. So that's showing up right now. Check it out if you want to just join us via Patreon. That's cool too, as you know. All right. And just so you guys know how content is flowing right now because of my current schedule. Normally Monday through Friday or Monday through Thursday, depending upon if you're a member or not, I will do a video daily. I haven't been able to put out those videos for 2 reasons. Number one, not a lot of content out there to put videos on, even on games. Like it's not even about Xbox or PlayStation at this moment. The console war is over. There really is no competition between the two. I mean, Xbox might try to revive something with the handheld. I don't even know if the handheld would be considered a direct competitor to the PlayStation, being that it's PC based. You know what I'm saying? So, the competition between PlayStation and Xbox is effectively dead, right? But we still like to talk about the games. And I'm kind of glad that it's coming back to us talking about the games. We have a video that our last upload was about, because the console war is dead, we can now focus on what some of these AAA publishers are going to do in a negative fashion when it comes to AAA games. So definitely check out that video. I'll have it pinned at the end of this in one of the cards that you can go there. Yeah, so there's a lot to talk about generally outside of the console war, and we always wanted to bring it back to the games and talk about the games. It's just there was so much smoke and mirrors rather about the console war that we've had to talk about it. And here's another instance of why there were so much smoke and mirrors about the console war. We're going to break that down. So because of the lack of news even on games, I'm taking, and this is just perfect timing. I'm glad this has worked out. Shout out to the people at Munfish. Munfish sent me a code to check out their latest DLC. They sent me a review code to look at the latest DLC for Atomic Heart. It's one of the games that I like. Some people call it a poor man's BioShock. And you guys know me, opposite of Infinite, I love BioShock 1 and 2. It's two of my favorite games in recent memory. And yes, Atomic Dog has a lot of that charm in it. So Atomic Heart, excuse me. Atomic Heart has a lot of that charm in it. So I'm enjoying it. The thing is that we're going to finish the campaign, and then we're going to hop on these DLCs. I'm recording all this gameplay, so if you want to keep up to it, because when we complete this process, it's going to go on the website clouddosage.com. It's a cloud gaming website, focuses a lot on cloud. I know a lot of people are like outside of the FTC trial don't know what cloud gaming is capable of. You think that you can get AAA gaming there, but with services like NVIDIA GeForce Now Ultimate, you're getting top 1% gaming, and you can see how wonderful it looks. So it's something that you guys really should, pay a lot of attention to. And you can see some of that gameplay over at Cloud Dosage on YouTube. So check out Cloud Dosage streams on YouTube, Cloud Dosage streams, and you'll see those streams. So that's going to be the bulk of the content that I create this week outside of the podcast and outside of these. Is I'm going to be playing that in chunks until we get through that. So definitely check that out, because my time is very limited. You know what I mean? So unfortunately, while there's no news, that's what we're going to be doing. I don't want to say unfortunately, because I enjoy the game, but yeah, because of the news situation, there won't be a lot of videos coming out this week. All right, with that said, no further ado, let's get into this. This is purebred insanity. If you don't know what we're talking about, let me see if I can find the tweet here. I'm surprised I don't even have the tweet up right now. Where are my bookmarks? I thought I would have had this thing bookmarked. Where's that? I'm pretty sure I had this thing bookmarked, right? Yeah, I'm pretty sure I had. Okay, here we go. All right. What's going on here? Okay, take this, because it's easier to view this way to read the actual headline. So we're gonna put the headline up here like so. I don't understand what in the world is going what is going on here, and how come? Okay, that's not the tweet. What is going on here? What? Oh, this is Twitter doing this goofy thing that it does with when you click on one of your bookmarks. This is dumb integration. Anyway, all right, here we go. We got it, y'all. Icon error. Leaked Discord exposes anti-PS5 campaign. Clo Brill, Xbox Era, and Digital Foundry's Alex Battaglia among members. Goodness gracious, this is insanity. When you look at this, when you click on the post, it shows you a bunch of stuff that was inside the Discord. And the conversation in here, just in this little snippet, was purebred insane. Shout out to Neb. He created a collage of a lot of the stuff that was in there. One conversation was held around. So what's the plan on Era now going forward with these discussions in general? We have people like Nib, Chris, the Way, and so on that share all these videos about PlayStation 5, and people start to believe it while others just watch from outside and can only shake their heads. Is there a way to get together again? Right. So in other words, all right, there are positive videos about PlayStation being put out there. This ain't even about Xbox. This is about positive information about PlayStation being put out there by people who are enjoying the platform, and they want to, share to the masses, hey, this is why I enjoy the platform. You may hear something in contrast. I don't believe it. Here's why I don't believe it, right? So what you have is you have one group of people that are sharing why they are enjoying a platform, and you have another group of people that want to simply dismantle any enjoyment of that platform. And they want to get together, and content creators want to get together and pretty much talk about why you shouldn't enjoy said platform. Now, I get it. There's crap talking from both sides. You have Xbox people that crap talk on PlayStation. PlayStation people crap talk about Xbox. This is bigger than that. This is not like trolling, going back and forth, popping spit, talking ish, as they would say. This is a concentrated grassroots effort to collectively get together and spread FUD on another platform. This is not about saying, hey, the thing that I have is better than the thing that you have. That's a typical fanboy activity, which, can smell, can rot from the head. But that's not what's happening here. What's happening here is a lot more profound in a negative way. You actually have content creators, well-known sources within the Xbox community, people that, for instance, Xbox Era is going to be having an interview with Phil Spencer this week of this recording. He's coming on that show. And they led a grassroots effort. This is not just a bunch of trolls that are sitting in a DM talking ish and like, yo, check this out. I got this meme and got that. Those exist everywhere. And those are on all sides. That's PlayStation, Xbox, Nintendo. Nobody is separate from that, from having those individuals within their community. Everybody does it, where they talk their stuff and get together in their little groups and talk about the other stuff. I'm not talking about that. This is a concentrated effort. Grassroots effort to, like, in some professional fashion, target people that are speaking positively about something and trying to discredit them. This is insane. I have a little bit of experience with something of people getting together. There used to be a DM. Like, for those of you that don't know, for full transparency, I love cloud gaming. I love things that push tech and innovation forward, even when people don't understand it. When people are like, oh, this thing doesn't work or whatever. I don't listen to you. I'm not the type of person. Me listening to you about what works and what doesn't work is like me wanting to taste a sandwich, but instead of me tasting it myself, I hand it to you and tell you to bite it and tell me what it is. If the sandwich is obtainable, if I can put the sandwich in my hand, I'm biting my damn self. I don't need you to tell me how the sandwich tastes. It's just ridiculous. I got my own teeth, my own taste buds. And so I'm a leader. I'm not a follower. So when it came to cloud gaming, and if there were ways that it could enhance my gaming experience, I was going to check it out and test it. And that's when I stumbled upon Stadia, and Stadia was fantastic tech. The leadership at Google, the Stadia people were great. And then when you look behind the scenes and see everything that was attempted trying to be done, even all the way up to Phil Spencer and Jack Buser's level, like they tried. Not Phil Spencer, Phil Harrison. Like Phil Harrison early on understood the impact of having Fortnite on being something that Google invested in, and then it potentially coming to Stadia. That would have had an impact. Look what it did for Xbox's cloud service. It leapfrogged it from last to zero. To one as far as usage is concerned, and the rest is history. You know what I'm saying? Phil Harrison saw that all the way back then. During the FTC trial, there were court documents that were released and emails where he, urged Google to pursue this. And his contemporaries essentially laughed at him. They sent subsequent emails and said, why is this? And I think that along with Bethesda is part of the reason why Phil Harrison just said, forget it. These guys aren't serious. And he went back home. And just like he oversaw Stadia in name only. He said, these guys aren't serious. We're out of here. I think Jack Buser, who essentially led the effort, from my understanding, on the Google Games and Cloud, said, look, maybe this is the way you guys should go instead of trying to have a full-fledged cloud business because you guys aren't serious. That's just my opinion. You know what I'm saying? I think those two guys that are long-time stewards in gaming, Phil Harrison, one of the discoverers and signers of Naughty Dog over from Universal, along with Yoshida. He was one of the original 45 members of PlayStation when it first started. Jack Buser has a storied history in PlayStation as well. He is the godfather of PlayStation Home. You know what I'm saying? Big time gaming enthusiast. Those guys, you know what I mean, all the way down, I think they understood what needed to be done, but it was just the Google brass, the Google leadership, who was weak, in my opinion. They just did not, they weren't ready for this. You know what I'm saying? They got into it, they're not ready, they weren't ready for it, and it didn't last. That being said, I just wanted to put my history out there for those of you that don't know, who might be listening to this because of the topic that we're covering. And we're like, well, who's this guy? You know what I'm saying? Like, I started off being a big Xbox fan, admittedly an Xbox fanboy when I started my YouTube career here, if you want to call it that, or my YouTube hobby. Then Phil Spencer took over and everything started to collapse, and I recognized that early, and so I abandoned ship. Went to PC, went to Stadia, PlayStation. I went a whole bunch of places. You know what I'm saying? But then my comrades over on the Xbox side labeled me all types of stuff, flip flopper, this, that, you know what I mean? It just started a massive hate campaign. Despite everything that I've said in the past about where this platform was the Xbox platform was going to lead, all of it becoming true. All of it becoming true. Originally, shout out to King Thrash. King Thrash was on one of our earlier podcasts years ago. It was called Scrampunks. And there was a bunch of us that were Xbox enthusiasts, and we debated him. He showed you guys clips of it where he had earlier on said Xbox was going to become a third-party publisher. I'm thinking in my mind, I still have stuck in my head at that time the pedigree of Phil's predecessors, and I'm thinking to myself, there's no way that they would become a third-party publisher. It just doesn't make any sense. Not realizing that this guy Phil and what Satya was looking to do, they were cut of a completely different cloth. That nostalgia that was there for Xbox no longer remained. And so it took me like a year after King Thrash came on the podcast for me to start waking up and realizing, oh yeah, that is a possibility, and then start understanding the type of Xbox that we were dealing with. So that's why I went my way. But like I said, everything about the platform I said would come to fruition, came to fruition. And so along that path, in me supporting Stadia and trying to bring awareness to Stadia, there was some things that I had thought about the Stadia platform that was wrong, wasn't correct. You know what I'm saying? I thought that Google at least would keep investing into the platform, trying to loss lead amongst other cloud services until they did the full integration with YouTube. And once that happened, if they didn't see success then they might pull the plug. Those that follow my content should remember that I said, hey, look, I think 2023 is the year for all these cloud platforms to see who's going to try to stick it out or who's going to pull the plug. And I said Stadia included. So I said, I see a scenario where after 2023, if Stadia doesn't see significant success or significant growth, they could pull the plug. I was a year off. But even though I, made that comment, that wasn't the bulk of my messaging. So when Stadia did announce that they were pulling the plug, guess what I had to do? I had to get a stream together and go live and own up to it. And essentially apologize to the Google graveyard guy and say, look, this mofo was right. Why could I do something like that? Because at the heart of everything that I'm telling you on this side of the mic, I'm a gamer. I'm trying to tell you things that I feel like, based upon your circumstance, will enhance your gaming experience. It is not my job to promote a platform, just to promote it because I like it and I'm forcing you to like it. No. Shout out to the homie Doc Dark. Doc will tell you, how I met Doc Dark is through hearing him talk about cloud gaming one day. I was like, well, what I'm hearing you say about Stadia, I think from a technical standpoint, you may not understand how well this thing works and how, and the potential of it. Here's what I'm going to do, Doc. I'm going to buy you a Stadia unit and you tell us what you think. And Doc was like, hold on, bro. If I don't like this thing, I'm going to decimate it. I'm not some pawn for hire here. And I said, okay, if you like it, great. But if you don't like it, great. Because Stadia already has people like me. They need people like you in order to find success long term. So if you don't like the thing, even if you hate it, good. Express why you hate it. Because I'm a gamer and I want this thing to survive. So if there are some things that it needs to do better, they need to hear from the people that they need to obtain in order for it to do better. And Doc will tell you, go reach out to Doc. He'll let you know that. And the rest is history. Doc is the homie. I could do stuff like that because I don't care. I didn't care about Stadia doing well just for the sake of it doing well. I wanted Stadia to do well because the things that it was trying to promote and trying to accomplish, it would have driven gaming forward. So for those people that wanted to see those type of things available as a feasible option in gaming, they would have a platform they can go to and enjoy that could provide those things. And in order for it to provide those things, I understand it's a balancing act. You got to do the things that you're doing to pull the tech enthusiasts, but we're going to be the easiest ones to pull. The biggest skeptics are the mass consumer. So you got to be able to do the things that excited us while, again, it's a balancing act, pulling them in as well. And because I'm a gamer and I actually want I want things to be recognized for what it does well, not just be recognized because I like the brand logo or I like the people in it. That's what gamers do. That's essentially not what you saw here with this group. This group said, look, we are standing behind Xbox no matter what. No matter what, we're standing behind Xbox. And we want Xbox to be successful no matter what. So in order for Xbox to be successful no matter what, we have to take down its nemesis. No matter what. And the nemesis is PlayStation. We're going to take down PlayStation no matter what. That is so anti-gamer. It's anti-consumer, but it's so anti-gamer because gaming isn't about that. You may get some people that bullhittishly support a platform, even though and support a platform and under the belief that they're going to do ABC when the platform is actually doing XYZ. You're going to get some people that'll do that. And it isn't until they awaken and realize that the platform is doing XYZ do they say, oh, okay, well, I was mistaken. Wow, I was really wasting time supporting this thing when it really wasn't trying to do ABC. I was a fool, and now I'm correcting the record. That's one thing. But you have people that have pledged allegiance. Phil Spencer relied to it and said to it himself. They evangelized the platform, meaning they treat it like some type of deity. And they they pledge allegiance to it, meaning no matter what, they're going to cast their loyalty on this platform, no matter what it does. And you see it in the outcome. What is the outcome? The outcome is, first it was, I'm not gaming on anything. Like, look here, let's go back here. You see this thing from Cloveril right here, where Cloveril says, I won't play 30 frames per second games in 2020 plus period. Now he says that in 2020, but then as Xbox goes and They're releasing their first party games. The hell with third party games coming 30-30 because of the apparent bottleneck of the S. But their first party games are suffering through this. See how he switched that up? See how he switched that up? You know what I'm saying? It's just amazing to me. So no matter what, regardless, if 30 frames per second, if Xbox fell victim to 30 frames per second or not, he's going to defend it. Let's see here. I want to see something here. I'm going to look and see if I can find. I'm just scrolling through, trying to look through old tweets. And I hate what they did to Twitter. Hold on. It says, here goes one from Clobro. The Xbox compatibility team has invented brand new techniques. We are also creating the ability to double the frame rate of select titles from 30 frames per second. Okay, that's not what I was looking for from him. Let's see what else we got here from Clobro. About 30 frames per second. It says, enjoying high frames per second game on the new Xbox so much that I thought this illustration deserves the update. That's something that he put on 2020. He said another one. It says experiencing the visual clarity, smooth gameplay, and latency reduction of 120 frames per second rendering is good. Let's see here. Okay. It's so hard now to find. It says Halo Infinite campaign 4K 60. It's so hard right now to find pinpoint stuff on Twitter because Twitter has been messed up. I'm visually happy with how the game shaped up. It says too many people don't get quite what of all. Okay. Hold on. Okay. It says too many people don't quite get what at all of the Redfall discussion is. This is not about Redfall running at 30 frames per second as an isolated decision. Comparison to Starfield won't apply. While disappointing on its own, the real problem is rather how we got here. Redfall will de facto launch in an unfinished state. The 60 frames per second mode is officially unfinished. The problem is in a particular singular insignificant as Xbox acquired studios, and with the problem be every gameplay release for Redfall has been let's see here, almost runs at even on higher. Who says I've also seen reactions where people applied the situation to a theoretical 30 frames per second. The situation is no way transferable. Starfield never is presented at 60 frames per second. Okay, so here goes a thread that I'm looking at where Clobro was he was saying that Redfall at 60 frames per second is a problem, but if Starfield, at the time they didn't know if Starfield was going to be 30 or 60 at launch on the console, Starfield at 30 isn't a problem. He said, I've also seen reactions where people applied this situation to a theoretical 30 frames per second. This situation is no way transferable. So let's take a look at this. Let's look at this on the surface and see if there's any credibility. He said, I've also seen reactions where people applied this situation. Again, this is a thread about Redfall about launching at 30 to a theoretical 30 frames per second Starfield. This situation is no way transferable. Starfield never was presented at 60 frames per second to begin with. No. I won't play 30 frames per second games in 2020, period. Right? Okay. The situation is, and this is the biggest, at this point in time, Starfield is the biggest game coming to Xbox. So the biggest game coming to Xbox, which we know you heavily support, Clobrill, was heavily anticipating Starfield. That's coming at 30 frames per second, and it's not. Okay, so let's continue to read. He says, Starfield was never presented at 60 frames to begin with. We have talking about 30 frames all the time, a different situation all the way around. In addition, Starfield is obviously has a different ambition for its open world systems and next gen RPG. Will I still be a bit disappointed by 30 frames per second, Starfield only? I would. Would this justify a similar reaction? Absolutely not. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. The biggest game in the world, and I bet you before these games started coming out at 30 frames per second, he wasn't saying no. Oh, it would be okay for Starfield. That's crazy. He said, I won't play 30 frames per second games in 2020 plus, period. Which means you find it unacceptable. So if it's unacceptable, why not call them out? You're saying that 30 frames per second only games don't belong beyond 2020. And you know what? Despite this being said in a crazy cult-driven Discord, I agree with Clobrill here. Cold Blood will tell you, me and him don't agree on. I don't do 30 frames per second games at all. I just don't do them, and I don't think they belong in 2020 plus. Now, I've talked to people who said that they feel like 30 frames per second should die. I don't feel like that, because some people, 60 frames make them nauseous. So I don't mind the option being there. I have a problem with it being the only option. And again, back to the aforementioned Stadia. That was one of the things that had a lot of people within the diehards in the Stadia community mad at me, because I made a big deal out of the 60 frames per second. I said, that was your biggest lure in bringing me over here, was the seamless 60 frames per second without me having to have expensive resource heavy hardware. I could get 60 frames per second, smooth, buttery, responsive, 60 frames per second gaming over an internet browser. So he's sitting there, this is, trying to make excuses for 30 frames per second Starfield, when Starfield essentially is going to be, a Bethesda game studio title where, there's going to be like faster movement when you're dealing with enemies and things like that. Or it's first person. Like, come on now. Like, that needed to be 60 frames per second. That's why it's 60 frames per second on PC. And we all know that even though Bethesda, before the Starfield launch, saw a lot of success on console, we know where their biggest audience is. It's PC, because of the modding and all the other stuff. That is the heart and soul of the Bethesda audience. So if Todd Howard was so hell-bent on presentation, and he was so big on 30 frames per second, why did it launch at 60 frames per second on PC? Why wouldn't he have just went with all the bells and whistles and just had a 30 frames per second mode on PC and had a 60 frames per second patch later? Huh? How come he didn't do that? How come he didn't do that? I don't know. Did any of the Bethesda Softworks games ever launch at 30 frames per second on PC? I don't know. But if they have, that why wouldn't he do that with Starfield? So all this, this is a different type of game. No, not one that would warrant a 30 frames per second only mode. That doesn't make any sense. That being said, But see, you have things like that happen when people are hell-bent on, again, we have to boost up Xbox at any cost. So we're going to hate on PlayStation. That would be like me not just saying and reaching out to people like Doc, who I would say, Doc, if you love it or hate it, we want your response. Me talking in DMs with fellow Stadia content creators and us trying to find ways to, add more, verticality to our platforms, and then, creating suggestions for Stadia. Like, you will have a fan base do that. Like, why don't you guys try this? Why don't you guys try that? Is there going to be a little bit of ish talking about competition? Yeah. And then in those Stadia DMs, that's why I said a lot of the cloud community that's coming after me now, you got to look in the mirror. I get it that because Stadia is dead, the first thing that you felt like that would have you not fall from the ledge is Xbox. So you guys claim the Xbox. I'm not mad at you. You go to Xbox and you guys enjoy Xbox all you want. You got to remember when Stadia was around, you guys crapped on Xbox. Xbox was a commode. Like all the things that you're gobbling up now for Xbox, you guys totally disrespected before and said it wasn't acceptable. It's understandably acceptable now because it's different. If you go look in your cupboard and you're like, okay, well, what am I going to eat? Am I going to eat the ramen noodles, or am I going to eat this special Campbell's beefy soup? Oh, I'm not eating no ramen noodles. I'm going to get this special Campbell's beefy soup. You'll look down your nose at the ramen noodles because, of course, the special Campbell's beefy soup has more going on. But, and this is a big but, this is a huge but. If all you got is ramen noodles is going to have to do. So I get it, but you guys don't be mad at me if all there is ramen noodles and I'm like, nah, I won't eat that. I'm going to find something else in the fridge. You guys want the ramen noodles? I'm not mad at you. I'm going to find something else at the fridge. But that would be like me in conversating with my people in the Stadia DMs, instead of trying to find ways to boost the platform as far as awareness is concerned and things that we actually like, I sit there and say, you know what, no matter what, we got to crap on Amazon Luna. No matter what, down with GeForce Now. No matter what, we hate Shadow. Now, granted, I had my preferences of Stadia over those other platforms. I talked a lot of stuff on GeForce Now because I just didn't like the service at the time. But I've never told people if you like GeForce Now, or I've never tried to convince people away from GeForce Now. I just didn't like it. With Stadia going down, simultaneously, they made some great strides with their 3080 service, which is now the GeForce Now Ultimate. I'm a AAA visual and I'm a frames buff when it comes to gaming. There you have it. I didn't lessen the things that I accepted in order to go to GeForce Now. In actuality, GeForce Now was doing things better than Stadia at the time. Stadia, again, had seamless transitions. There were just some things that Stadia was doing that, even in its death, is still better than its contemporaries. Seamless transition played well everywhere. You know what I'm saying? Just a lot of things about Stadia just was great and still better than the ones that are still remaining. But the things that were important to me, the most important things, not seamless transition, the frames and the visuals and the access to games that I wanted to play, that was there in GeForce Now. And in some areas, GeForce Now was better, particularly when it comes to frames, when it comes to visuals, boom, there you have it. So I didn't throw away my core identity to convert over to GeForce Now. It was right then and there. GeForce Now improved. But it was never a thing about me. Hell, even Amazon Luna, even though I wasn't the biggest fan of Amazon Luna, I said to people, I thought that when the dust settled, the two top cloud platforms would be Amazon Luna and Amazon Luna #1 and Stadia #2 because of their associations to major streaming platforms. I said if they played their cards right, they could use their streaming platforms as big time boosts to their success, and the rest will be history. And unfortunately, they haven't done that. Amazon is trying, but I guess they don't have the appetite to really go all out and really use its streamers to get the games that'll really move the needle. Like if I'm at Amazon, I'm looking at the top 20 games. I'm getting them on Amazon Luna. I am working with influencers and streamers on the platform to say, hey, look, let's now use this feature that allows said people to play with you, and you can't do this on any other platform. So because you can't do this on any other platform, let's utilize it with Amazon Luna. And then let's try to get people to push people to the Amazon Luna version of the game. And maybe you ain't got to do all 20 of them at the same time. You just it's a slow drip. You do a handful here, a handful there, and say, hey, look, if you get the Amazon Luna version of the game, you can actually play with Ninja. You can play. Ninja will send you codes, and you can jump in a game with Ninja. And it's something that, that you could call it the Luna matchmaking version, of the game. And in order for you to do that, you got to have the Amazon Luna version. They have power and influence under them. And I figured they would use it, and they haven't done it yet for whatever reason to boost the platform. But I even admitted that I didn't think Stadia would be the #1 cloud platform, even though it was my favorite one. I figured it would be Amazon Luna because they have the bigger game streaming platform in Twitch. Okay. All right. So with that said, yeah, we did have DMs like everybody, just PlayStation DMs and all this other stuff. I'm in a DM now where we got a bunch of people that like a little bit of everything, and they like to go back and forth and debate and whatever. And that's always fun and entertaining to see. But it was never a concentrated effort to get together. And I kind of knew that there were DMs where there were Xbox people getting together and strategizing to, do remote things here and there, like to overhype the Xbox and, to, in a concentrated fashion, go after PlayStation. I understood that. That doesn't surprise me. What surprises me is the overall concentrated effort in creating a Discord to tactically, not to just the sheer tactics, not to bring it up from time to time, not just a bunch of fanboys that from time to time, but to tactically bring down PlayStation. I never thought that these guys would go that far out. And look, these guys are, if you think they got nib, what do they say here? They said, we what are we going to do about Nib and Chris and Thuway? I don't know who Chris and Thuway is. But if they are purposefully going after people like Nib, if they are actively going after people for just making comments on Twitter, like Nib he's not a content creator. Nib just has a Twitter account and he puts out stuff that, in regards to support his opinion. He's not a content creator. If you can sit there and run efforts like that, like tactical efforts like that, and you're going after Nib, what do you think about when we had the devs out here saying stuff like this? The Xbox Series S is a nice option for customers, but can be a bottleneck for devs. Try and find them. Or when the developers were saying this, developers say Xbox Series S could hold back multi-platform games. Minimal specs matter. Or when they were saying this in a collage. Here goes a collage of articles. Bringing Dune Awakening to the Xbox Series S will be a challenge, according to Funcom Chief Product Officer. Dying Light 2 dev says Xbox Series S GPU holds it back from 60 frames per second. Many studios are struggling with Xbox Series S requirements, claims developer. Developers suggest the Series S may struggle to keep up with AAA game demands. Remedy, Xbox Series S optimization is nowhere near as simple as lowering resolutions and textures. And it goes on and on and on. Shout out to Nib who made this collage. We even have a situation like this. Well, hold on, no, that's not the right link. There was a, where's that link at? Well, where's that story? Oh, here it goes right here. Oh, no, I had it up already. This is a story about, who was this? A Bethesda developer at the time. Axel Nelting says one of the folks most responsible for Doom Eternal looking good and run smoothly. He had said something about this. Says Nelton pointed out that almost non-existent RAM increase from the current gen systems to Xbox Series S is a major pain point. He says also always scaled on PC is nonsense, he says. Every AAA game in the past decade or so has their assets made once they run on minimum spec. Increasing sample counts a bit here and there for high settings isn't what you could truly have done with more power. Minimum specs matter, he says. Stop. So if the developers were saying this, 2020 they were saying this, and if they were getting attacked, where do you think that attack came from? Where do you think it came from? Came from here. Those attacks were coordinated and they came from here. And as a result, you, the gamer, were lied to. And it resulted in you picking up an S, believing it wasn't going to be a problem as far as how you'll be able to play games. You'll just get less resolution, and that's not the case. And time again, even with Xbox first-party games, you found that there was a problem. That would essentially be like the aforementioned conversation that I had with Doc Dark. Instead of me hearing some things that he said about Stadia, me introducing him to Stadia and saying, look, maybe you should play this thing first. And let's just say if he plays it and he has criticisms, and instead of me saying, hey, look, well, I'll highlight your criticisms because Google needs to hear them so this becomes a better platform for all, and this increases the survivability of this platform. Instead of me doing that, I attack Doc. Doc can see he was an Xbox person anyway. I should have known better. And then therefore creating the silo of misinformation that does nothing to help this platform. And see, here's the kicker about all this. The kicker about all this is that most of these people that are out here that misinformed you and got you to buy the Series S, and for those of you, like if you enjoy and you love the Series S, this is not for you. But understand there are a lot of people that picked up the Series S or even the Series X, and they're highly disappointed because everything that was advertised to them, albeit from Xbox themselves or from these, cult members, was a lie. And now we're seeing it was an orchestrated lie. Okay. But here's the thing to think about. Most of these people just took the resources, a lot of them which they got from you. They just took their resources and bought PCs. And while you're left in the dust with this Series S or this Series X, that trade-in value might not be the greatest. You can't just go get a PC. You can't just pick up and get a PC. Consoles, for a lot of you, consoles is the most feasible way for you to enjoy this. Now you're stuck like Chuck. Yeah. Here's the only thing I can say to that. You gotta be about gaming. You can't just be about the group. If the gaming experience, albeit like, look, there's a lot of people that just prefer the Xbox platform because of the controller, the online experience, their friends, the community, like whatever. There's things that might be superficial to me may not be superficial to someone like my brother Will Sinks. I question him all the time. I'm like, Will, you are an RPG fanatic. Don't you know, in my height of hating PlayStation the most back in the day when I was the biggest Xbot, mentally out there, I always had a PlayStation because I knew, because I love RPGs so much, the only feasible thing to do if you love RPGs is to get a PlayStation. My bro refuses. And that's okay. That's his thing. I'm not talking about those people. I'm talking about the people that if the ecosystem is not big enough to keep you away, and you're like, look, I need great gaming experiences no matter where they're at, but I don't have endless resources. And so I got to pick out something singularly. Maybe I can do like a hardware, I can invest in a console and go to the cloud or something for $10 a month or something like that. Maybe I could do that. Right. For those of you that fit into that scenario, these guys lied to you for the last 4 or 5 years, took your money as they lied to you, and went and bought themselves PC as life preservers. And they're leaving you drowning in the sea. This is why the whole flip-flop thing, it was funny to talk about when we were doing a console war thing, but it's not something, it's not derogatory at all. If you're a gamer, you go where the games are at. I went from playing on ColecoVision, Atari 2600, Commodore 5200, Nintendo, Genesis, Saturn, Super Nintendo, and my favorite platforms, depending upon who had the best games and had the best gaming experience. That's what pulled out my passion and my advocacy is what you provided. If what you were providing was awesome, you gonna get me, to support you and support you vehemently. As long as you're providing. It's not an indefinite thing. That's not how gamers think. Look at the history of gaming. A real gamer never said, you know what? I love Nintendo so much, I don't care what they make. I'm just going to support them no matter what. That's a fanatic. Real gamers didn't think like that. Real gamers always flocked and converted to where the greatest gaming experiences were. I'm going to defend Sega no matter what. I'm going to defend Nintendo no matter what. I'm going to defend Xbox no matter. I'm going to defend PlayStation no matter. No, gamers didn't do that. Look, PlayStation, its first 2 generations dominated. They screwed up with the PlayStation 3, and a huge chunk of those gamers came over to 360. And then they went back after the Xbox One because the great experience, as far as they were concerned, was on the PlayStation 4. You guys have to not become so acclimated to this evangelistic approach to gaming. You just got to go where the experiences are. You got to be willing to criticize the moment you're not being delivered to and say, hold on, what's going on here? Like, pause. Let's figure this out. Was this a mistake, or are you taking your foot off the gas? What's happening here? You got to be willing to do that. If you can't do that, you don't represent any part of gaming that I can respect. Because historically, this is what gamers do. There's people that cheered and rah-rah PlayStation 1, PlayStation 2. PlayStation's the best. That PlayStation 3 came out, they're like, what is this trash? And then they left. Sorry about that, mic hitting. They went to the 360. And then when PlayStation 4 seemed like when PlayStation seemed like they were back in form with the 4, they came back to the PlayStation. This is what gamers do. So you guys got to stop being so susceptible to these little cult factions, and you got to go where the gaming experience that's best for you is at. Albeit because of an ecosystem, because of particular games, whatever the case may be, that's where you go. That being said, that's just part of the problem. Here's another part of the problem, and this may be more controversial or whatever, and it may seem like that I'm trying to call people out and be negative and attack people. No, I'm as a gamer, we got to focus on what matters. And here's what I'm going to tell you. It's time for digital foundries. It's time for digital foundries influence in gaming to go away. I'm not saying Digital Foundry has to go away. It's time for their influence in gaming to go away. Here's why. It's rumored that Alex Battaglia of Digital Foundry was a member of this group. Now, for those of you that live under a rock, Digital Foundry has become like the de facto place that people go to when they look at video game performance as it relates to like frames and resolution and the numbers, the raw numbers, and what's actually better on what platform and all that other stuff. And I've had my experience with Digital Foundry with the aforementioned Stadia. Like they're not the all-seeing eye on everything, and sometimes they have an agenda. And we saw it with Stadia, where they didn't have the proper infrastructure or the proper setup to test certain things as it related to Stadia. It got to a point to where Google had to intervene and tell them you don't know what you're doing, and they kind of had to not retract, but they had to correct a lot of the misinformation that they said. There's people like, shout out to what's his name, Gaming Noob, I believe it was, big time Stadia supporter and very technical person. Random Noob, that was his name, Random Noob. Shout out to Random Noob. Random Noob had shown where Digital Foundry's latency tests on Stadia were severely flawed. That was one of the things that brought attention to that. So what ended up happening is we started to see chinks in the armor of Digital Foundry there. A lot of us that were on the cloud scene started to see that. You guys didn't see it yet because you guys were so wrapped into Grassgate when it came to GTA 3 between PlayStation 4 and Xbox and all this other stuff that, you guys were like, oh yeah, the PlayStation, is king here. You guys didn't see that there was some type, I don't know what it was. And I'm only speculating here, to be clear. Let's be abundantly clear. I don't have a proof of any of this. I don't know if there was some backdoor channel, something given to them, but there always seemed to be this thing where out of nowhere, when it started with the series, with the 1X, that Digital Foundry was overhyping Xbox content. They were seriously overhyping it. And why I can say that is because I got overhyped for the One X because of Digital Foundry. And a lot of it is because of course, because of Phil Spencer and company. You know, they overhyped it with the True 4K and this and all this other jargon and stuff like that. But a lot of it was cemented by Digital Foundry. I get the platform in my hands. It's cool. It's whatever. But then we got the PlayStation 4 with the Rapid Pack Math, courtesy of Mark Cerny, and they dropped God of War that looked on the PlayStation 4 Slim that looked better than anything on my Xbox One X. That's absurd. That's insanity. That shouldn't have happened based upon this raw power that was supposed to be in the One X that I was told to by Phil Spencer. But of course, Phil Spencer's going to lie. You know, but then when you got this outside source that all of a sudden that's been dogging Xbox all this time, and all of a sudden it's like, well, hold on, this is the answer. This is the creme de la creme. If you're not the wiser, you're going to fall for it. So, and I didn't understand why Digital Foundry was doing that, but we find out that Alex Battaglia of Digital Foundry was part of this crazy group. Part of this crazy group in the Discord that was running Xbox propaganda. And he always seemed to be, you know, running anti-PlayStation rhetoric on the show. He loved it, particularly recently with the PSSR thing. But even before that, there was signs of, you know, him contradicting himself, you know, hating exclusives for PlayStation, but loving them, you know, hating that Silent Hill was exclusive. This is disgusting, but loving the exclusive nature of Stalker 2 for Xbox. And it was apparent to us, but Digital Foundry kept running with this dude as it related to all things PlayStation. Like he's there in the middle of the muck when it comes to all things PlayStation. And I'm like, why is the PC guy there? Like, where's I forget this Richard Ledbetter. Where's the other guy? Where's Tom Farrell and John Lennon? Where's John Lennon at? Where are these guys at? Like, I love Oliver. I think Oliver does a great job. Oliver is the most talented one there. And I think Oliver, even though you could tell he has a preference towards PlayStation, I think Oliver is the most balanced there. I like Richard at times too, but again, he cannot, it's like a blood stain. He cannot wash the stains of his overhyping of the Xbox One X. And then again, with the Xbox Series consoles, he cannot wash that. Outside of that, I would recommend Richard, you know, primarily, but I think Oliver, but that has tainted him. I think Oliver's the best. And it's a shame for Oliver because I think Oliver would be better suited doing his own thing, right? That being said, Digital Foundry's influence has to go. I always thought that the Digital Foundry influence had an unnecessary effect on the early Xbox One generation when they were doing things like Grass Gate or whatever. Like, the things that were happening between the two consoles were so you know what I mean? They were so undetectable to the naked eye that they really didn't matter. It should have come down to the games. And I'm not sitting there arguing that Xbox had the best games out, but they were putting the exclusives out. And I think people just were not giving Xbox a chance, in large part due to Digital Foundry. I remember when I would go to GameStop, when I was making my decision on if I was going to get a next-gen console, you know, around release. And you know, they had both out for display. And I would play them both, and I noticed no difference. I would play the games both, and well, not upon release, but after they released, I was still contemplating, like, do I even want a next gen console this early already? Because I usually wait. You know what I'm saying? PlayStation 5 is the first console that I got day one, because normally you want to wait like 3 to 6 months. Let those first initial batches go out. Let the defects and stuff be recognized. Let it be fixed in the next subsequent batches. But I got my PlayStation 5 day and date. And I didn't, and earlier on, it was a problem for me. It was bad earlier on, but after PlayStation put like a few patches out several months later, I've never had any problem with it. And, it was fine for me all the way up until I traded it in to get my PlayStation 5 Pro. Here's the thing though. The performance differences were so minimal between the Xbox One and the PlayStation 4 that I think Digital Foundry's influence was overkill. I think you had a big enough argument for PlayStation for the simple fact that the Xbox, who generally always was the better looking system. Now, maybe during the 360 era, PlayStation had better games for its first party games, but when it came to third party games, the Xbox games always look better. The Xbox games definitely look better than the OG Xbox. You know what I'm saying? So Xbox games looking and performing better, in totality over the PlayStation was not a new thing. And I think, getting a PlayStation 4 and, playing a game to your naked eye, playing a game on the PlayStation 4 versus playing the game on the Xbox, seeing the difference. And, seeing that they're very similar, but yet you get a PlayStation for $100 cheaper. I think that was powerful, and that spoke for itself. But I think Digital Foundry just was like overkill on the superficial things that the average gamer was not going to notice. And I think they unnecessarily became this kingsayer for PlayStation, and PlayStation rode the wave of them being the kingsayer, and then it was put at risk because I don't know what forced Digital Foundry to do this, to overhype the Xbox One and the Xbox Series. But then PlayStation had to have concerns about what Digital Foundry was going to say about their products. This was released in the FCC trial, where they mentioned Digital Foundry, and being concerned about how, their games would come out as far as Digital Foundry reviews if ABK was absorbed by Microsoft, and Microsoft made their games perform better. ABK games perform better on Xbox platforms. So that kind of like validated Digital Foundry as the kingmakers of PlayStation. So I think that short-term buff that Digital Foundry gave PlayStation has become a long-term heartache. We're seeing it with the PlayStation and PSSR, where they were salivating. They had Alex Bugaga, as they call him, Alex Battaglia up there, just salivating and licking his chops at being able to really denigrate these PSSR updates. Now, again, I feel like it's PlayStation's fault because they even allowed these to be called Pro Enhanced. But again, it was overkill again, until shout out to Tom Farrell, who went out there, talked to, who was it? I can't, they're an Xbox developer now, they're ABK that made Call of Duty. But he went to and talked to, I think it was Sledgehammer. Was it Sledgehammer? Talked to them about Black Ops 6, and they broke down what is going on with PSSR. It's the denoiser. And then once PlayStation got a grip on what was going on with the denoiser and how future rollouts should be, you know, how future PSSR updates should be rolled out, then it's like all the excitement out of Alex Bugaga left. Well, now it makes sense why. Like, even if you can't find messages from out, just being part of this group and staying in a group like this is purebred insanity to me. I would, if I had any integrity, I'd be like, hold on, I'm part of Digital Foundry. I can't be in here. Now, if this was because look, it's no secret that Alex is a pro Xbox person. And there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with that. I don't even think the problem is some of his rhetoric. He can be ignored because John Linneman says a lot of rhetoric. Like me as a cloud gamer and him completely hating on cloud gaming. Like it's weird to me. I get that he's for the preservation of physical games. You could like both can exist in the same space at the same time. It's weird to me, but I can ignore that part because whatever, it's just his personal opinion. So even if Alex was in like some pro Xbox Discord or DM where they talk crap about PlayStation here and there, that's different. You're in a Discord that is actively plotting to spread propaganda, not on the benefit of Xbox, which is bad enough. Alex shouldn't be anything like that, but is actively looking to downplay the PlayStation. And even if you're not active in this Discord, we see you applying a lot of that rhetoric and tone, or a lot of those tactics and tone, in your Digital Foundry videos. We see it. We see the contradictory nature in the tone that's being shared in a lot of this release stuff. We see it in your videos. So if it is true, now it could be coincidental if you're not part of this, or you were at one point in time and you said, oh, no, before I get caught, let me get out of here. But somebody should can still be informing him or whatever. But it could be coincidental. But if it's not coincidental, if it is true that at any point in time you were part of this DM and you stayed there for a significant amount of time, I think at the very least that renders you incompetent to talk about at any professional level anything PlayStation, because it's purely tainted. The same would go for Oliver. Now, if Oliver was part of a pro PlayStation DM, that's different. But a part of a DM or Discord that was actively plotting to spread FUD to consumers, to gamers, about Xbox, whether it was true or not, just for the sake of doing it, that would render Oliver disqualified to talk anything Xbox professionally. So if Digital Foundry wants to continue down this path where they seem like some professional foundry of all things technical when it comes to gaming, something has to be done. Because this is a reflection on you. Hopefully they're finding out the details of this, what's it called? And hopefully they do the right thing. But regardless of what they do, gamers, I think the right thing to do is like, look, because right now, because PlayStation and Xbox, and let's see here, because PlayStation and Xbox console war stuff is at an all-time low, the Digital Foundry activity, I would imagine, let's take a look here, and I could be wrong, the Digital Foundry activity has to be at a low point. Let's look at their videos. Okay, so we're talking about Grid Legends, Alan Wake, Kingdom Come Deliverance. Like Kingdom Come Deliverance was a big one. Alan Wake 2, RTX Geometry. Yeah, except for the big push button topic videos, I don't see. So let's take a look here. Yeah. While the console war stuff was hot, like the more successful range for Digital Foundry videos, and this is me talking and it's not like we average less than 1% of this, but I'm looking at their range right now. And when it came to these hot topic issues, which there were a lot of them, Digital Foundry, you know, when anything, if it was ingrained in PlayStation or Xbox, the range was like anywhere between 200 to 600,000. And now that the console war has pretty much died down, like it looks like they're averaging like 130,000 now. Yeah, like they got a video 86K, 51K, that's low for them, 90K, 170, 140, 130. Now the Kingdom Come Deliverance 2 of course, because that's embedded. It was a PlayStation 5 Pro, the PlayStation 5 versus the Xbox review that did 300,000. But then now everything's hovering under 200,000. Now there was a DLSS 4 deep dive that was part of CES. That was during the CES week, so that, you know, that did over 200,000. And PC emulation deliver the Bloodborne. Okay, and here goes something about Bloodborne that Digital Foundry put out there, which, you know, that's attached to PlayStation. So that did 341,000. But yeah, they did something in regards to the Switch that did 260,000. But yeah, their videos have now hit the 130,000 realm, which again, while all this console war stuff was at a fever pitch, it looks like it was like between 200,000 to 500,000 or 600,000. I'm sorry. Yeah. So Digital Foundry knows what it's doing, and there was a reason that they put Alex there during these PlayStation conversations, because they knew that he would supply the red meat, because they understand the heart of their content. They want to be in the console war stuff. They want to feed the console war. They understand their bread and butter. That's how they became famous. They weren't famous because they were doing these tech reviews. Digital Foundry was famous because they talked console war stuff. And when people during when the battle between Xbox and PlayStation was the hottest, was white hot between them two, when it was at the highest, was during the PlayStation 4 the launch of those two platforms. And you couldn't see with the naked eye. I remember being on forums, you couldn't see with the naked eye which one was better. But there was a solid argument, like, look, you know, these things are identical, but PlayStation 4 is cheaper. But again, when it comes to the console war, you're always looking for that significant edge. And even though people couldn't see this, and at this time, we really didn't care about numbers all like that back then, Digital Foundry provided that professional sounding, clear-cut edge, significant edge, that significant edge was, look at these numbers. You're charging more and you're producing less numbers. Screw with your eyes, with your hands, you know, it's about the numbers now. And Digital Foundry became big during that era. So, because of that, you now have to realize that Digital Foundry has overstayed its welcome now. They have, as far as I'm concerned. Console war is over. You're seeing remnants of people trying to pin PlayStation versus Nintendo now. I don't think that's going to work. I think now all three of these entities are going to run in their own lane, where Microsoft and Microsoft Gaming is going to be more PC. Nintendo is going to do like this hybrid thing where they're more they're not looking for the top-notch AAA experience, the balls to the walls and the biggest technical experience, and then where PlayStation is, their PlayStation is going to provide the traditional AAA console experience. They're all in their own three lanes. I until one of those groups get a competitor, and you might see Microsoft have a competitor because they're going against Steam as far as OS is concerned. Digital Foundry now belongs over there. Let them jump all in on the Steam OS versus Windows 12 or whatever is going to be the thing pushing the Microsoft effort. Their pursuits on consoles are no longer important. Now, they're not going to do that. They're not going to sit there and hear this, somehow and say, oh, you know what, MM, you're right. We're done. They're not going to do that. You have to force their hands and say, we don't care what you have to say unless it got to do with these handheld wars or whatever that's happening over there. We're no longer going to pay you any credence over there. And then that will help PlayStation as well say, you know what? Yeah, okay. We needed them during that generation to help separate us from Xbox even further, because we can't survive if we're running neck and neck with these people. We got to be dominant in order for this business to work for us. But we can no longer rest our laurels on them. And here's what I would do, because Oliver is great at connecting to the community and understanding what you need to do technically. I think Oliver needs to be extracted from Digital Foundry, and if I'm PlayStation, I'm hiring him day one. I got him working with Mark Cerny on, as far as tech that should be delivered. That's going to be the most awarding to consumers and the most beneficial for PlayStation. Maybe sitting with Mark Cerny and at some type of advisory level and saying, I don't know if we want this to be pro enhanced because the community is going to react this way. I think Oliver presents a great opportunity for PlayStation to have someone to fill in the gap between some of the disconnect that this current PlayStation seems to have with its fan base in regards to output, its pro labels, all this stuff. I think while they're transitioning, towards the latter end of this generation and then prepping things for the PlayStation 6, I think Oliver would be a great person to have at PlayStation. I think it would benefit not only PlayStation, but more importantly us, because he understands the consumer and he would be able to relate back to them. I don't know if you guys should do this. I think this is the thing that you guys want to do. Yeah, I think it's time for Digital Foundry's reign over all this, at least from the console perspective. I think their time is up. So in closing, here's my ultimate thoughts. Number one, completely anti-gamer for something like this to even exist. And again, what's this thing right here? If you were a part of this, or if you're still, because I know some good people that were a part of this that had to wake up out of their stupor, and they're like, yeah, I was a part of that, and I shouldn't, that thing was horrible. Good for you. But if this is still how you plan to operate, like again, and we're seeing remnants of it now, because it went from 30 frames per second doesn't belong. 30 frames per second only doesn't belong in 2020. It's transitioned to that. It's okay. If your MO is to deceive gamers for the sake of a multi-trillion-dollar brand. You don't belong here in gaming. All these people that were part of this either need to explain themselves or they should be ignored and unfollowed. Secondly, Digital Foundry. It was fun while it lasted. You and PlayStation had, you guys benefited each other. But it's now time for what's best for gamers to take the forefront. I think it's gamers. Digital Foundry, your time is up here in this space. I truly think it's over. Now, if there is a PSSR update, here's what I will say. If there's a PSSR update that is applied horribly or applied bad, or there's a PSSR update that's applied well, and you can explain why that's the case and help educate people, not just on numbers, but the how and why something is happening conclusively. Like if you guys do the research after you find out, hey, this was a bad patch, let's talk to the developer, let's talk to this one, let's figure out what's going on. If you can do that, then you have some use to gamers. But anything else outside of that, who cares? I don't care what's running at what frame compared to this anymore. I just don't, it doesn't even matter anymore. Your job in this space is done. But I think the best you can do, I'm not telling you to go away. I think the best you can do is go look at what Microsoft is stating they're going to do with this handheld or whatever. Look at that whole OEM or UI, whatever it is, war over there when it comes to these handhelds, and you can lay your expertise there. I see you making a bigger push towards PC anyway. So yeah, all you guys can start talking more and more about what's going on PC and navigate away from this space. And again, I'm saying this vocally, not like you're going to say, yeah, you're right, MM2K, with your 1,000 views per video, whatever. You're right. You're not going to pay me any attention. This, even though I'm talking to you, this message is really for the gamers. Their purpose is done. So, all right, y'all. That's it. I hope you guys enjoyed this. I spent my whole lunch and some. I got a conference call coming in like 30 minutes. I mean, not 30 minutes, 3 minutes. That I've been waiting on. So we're gonna end this right here. But hopefully you guys enjoy this. Normally this doesn't run this long, but I particularly saw what was going on here, thought I would speak to it, lay my level of expertise, and hopefully you guys get some enjoyment out of it. I'm going to be working on my computer. I got some new computer parts. I'm going to be upgrading both my my recording computer, and I'm going to be upgrading my main computer today. So this is it. I'm going to be offline. I'm not going to see much of anything. I'm not going to be upline again, hopefully until Tuesday. Until what's today? Today's Tuesday. So I won't be online again until Wednesday, computer wise. So I am planning on here. Let's take a look at it right now. I'm going to take a look at this this atomic art video. Why do I keep wanting to say atomic dog? Atomic heart video. Let's go take a look at it right now. YouTube Studio. Oh, excuse me. Content. Is it ready? Okay, it looks like it's ready. Let's play a little bit of it. Oh yeah, that looks. Oh, that looks good. Oh, that looks really good. Okay, all right. So I'm going to drop this probably around 3 p.m. Eastern. And you guys can go over to Cloud Dosage here. Here's what I'm going to do. I am going to copy this link right here. Can I copy this? Is it going? Yeah. We'll copy this link right here. I'm going to schedule it. Schedule it for today, 3 p.m. And you guys can check it out. It's like an hour or so of me playing Atomic Heart on the NVIDIA GeForce Now Ultimate. And shout out again to Munfish for giving us the code. And so this is scheduled. I'm going to put it right here in the stream chat. More gameplay of Atomic Heart. All right. So there we go. There we have it. All right, y'all. Hopefully you guys enjoy this content. And if you want to see more of it, hit that membership button, like we said, or you can go to the Patreon. Again, it's patreon.com/P as in Paul, N as in Nancy, T as in Tom, S as in Sam, network, PNTS network. So go over to patreon.com/PNTS network and you can sign up there. You'll get access to the same videos. All right, with that said, I appreciate everybody. Thank you so much. Until next time, have a wonderful gaming day. Peace.